You know, people often come up to me, tears pouring down their face, sopping wet face, and they say, Luke, I understand the things going for Biden in this election. I understand the things going against Trump in this election. And I want to believe, as you say, that we should, in some general sense, in the American people. But the polls look so bad. What the heck is that about? Is all hope lost? And my answer has been thus far, just wait. Regardless of what they look like come November, we're going to do the same thing, right? Work hard in favor of democracy. Work hard in favor of more common sense governance. But I also believed that as we got closer, things would start to look better because of primarily the mounting issues for Trump and the tendency for people to wait until the last moment to pay attention to an election. We all have been paying close attention for some time, but most people don't do that, and they tune in right before the election. So now that we're getting more close, now that a debate's coming up, etc., we might be seeing the very shift that I was hoping and predicting. Here is Fox News reporting on their own poll that has seen a huge shift in Biden's direction in recent months, and this is being reported, you can know for certain, right into the ears of Trump because he freaked out on Truth Social over this very polling. So here's Bret Baier on Fox News breaking the devastating news to Trump that the momentum may be going in the other direction now.
Good evening. I'm Bret Baier. We are releasing new Fox polls right now about the presidential race. President Biden gets his best result this election cycle in the head-to-head against former President Donald Trump. He leads 50-48. That is within the margin of error. President Biden hasn't been ahead of former President Trump in the polls since October 2023. He trailed Trump by 1 point last month. Again, all within the margin of error, a very tight race. When listing extremely important issues to their vote, registered voters in this survey citing the future of democracy at 68%, the economy at 66%, followed by stability and normalcy, then health care and immigration, abortion, and guns.
I'm going to quickly pause your viewing of this video to ask that you subscribe to the channel if you're not already, just by clicking that subscribe button. Thank you so much. So before getting to Trump's response and looking at how this has been a shift over recent months, look at those first top three issues. 68% of Americans, 68%, at least according to this poll of registered voters, say an extremely important issue to them is the future of democracy. No matter how many times Trump tries to project that onto Biden, saying Biden's the real threat to democracy, we know that if 68% of people understand that an extremely important issue is the future of democracy, Biden's going to win. He's the pro-democracy candidate, undeniably. Then, the fact that we're seeing a shift in Biden's direction, and 66% of Americans see an extremely important issue in this election being the economy, that could be a sign that people are starting to see the progress that we've talked about. How long have I been saying, if you're a regular, longtime viewer of the show, that it just takes time for people to feel what we can observe in the metrics, right? We've been following, wow, look at this recovery. But it takes a second, especially in the wake of the devastating economic situation that the pandemic and Trump's mishandling of it caused. It takes a second for people to feel that progress in a meaningful, material way in their life. Then stability and normalcy. No one's voting for Trump who wants stability and normalcy. Even if they like Trump, that's not exactly something that people describe him as. And the next three are immigration, healthcare, abortion, and guns. And pretty interesting stuff. Here's a little bit more.
As President Biden is preparing to share a stage with the former president in just over a week, the first presidential debate, which we will cover live right here on Fox News Channel next Thursday night. Senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich starts us off tonight with a look at some of the other.
All right, so I'll stop that there. And then I mentioned to you the shift. You can see here that in March, Trump was at 50%, 5-point lead over Biden. In May, Trump at 49%, Biden at 48%. And in June, Biden at 50%, Trump at 48%. And this is Fox News polling. So a net 7-point swing towards Biden. And the reason why that's so important is because a 2-point lead nationally is not game over. Not even close. That's within the margin of error. The exciting thing is, at least according to the Fox News polling, we're seeing a trend in Biden's direction. And if that trend continues, we could see a more comfortable lead. you also have this illustrated in the Fox News polling here, a clear trend in recent months in Biden's direction. Now, we're also seeing this in the latest polls. If you see one, that's even, but let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 7 most recent polls, according to 538, have Biden leading, some of them by a sort of comfortable margin, but the average still has essentially tied Trump 0.1 up, so tied. But again, you can see on this chart, there was a little bit more of a gap, and then it's been closing in Biden's favor, and again, about even with the 538 2024 presidential election forecast, their prediction. So close. We're still going to see good polls for Trump. We could see things shift back in that direction. But the exciting part is it seems there's momentum in Biden's favor. Now, we'll talk about why I think that is a little bit later. But first, let's look at Trump's response. What does he do when anyone does reporting that he feels is not favorable to him? He says that network is illegitimate. Nobody can ever trust Fox News, and I am one of them. With the weak and ineffective rhino Paul Ryan on its board of directors, he's a total lightweight, a failed and pathetic Speaker of the House, and a very disloyal person. Romney was bad, but Paul Ryan made him look worse. As a team, they never had a chance. Rupert and Lackland, get that dog off your board. That dog, he says. And we know how Trump feels about dogs. He hates dogs. You don't need him. All you need is Trump. Make America great again. Then you have him also writing, Fox News polls are always the worst for me. They have been from the beginning, and they always will, or they always will be. And you know what's strange strategically? Trump does this thing where he always has to be leading. I heard someone say the reason why these sorts of polls freak the ever-loving, you know what, out of Trump is because his brand is premised off of him easily being able to win against Biden here. There's this vibe that Trump couldn't possibly lose against Biden. And that sort of convinces people that it's true. But if people start realizing, oh, Biden's not the weak candidate that Fox News and Trump tries to portray him to be. Trump's not the undefeatable candidate as he tries to portray himself to be. And this is going to be a close election, either way it goes. And so that means that your work matters. Your groundwork makes a difference. Your vote counts. But if Trump can convince you that, oh, as a Democrat, you should just give up because I'm going to win anyways, then maybe you won't go out and do that work and convince people that every single vote matters. But strategically, it's strange for him to be pushing this because I think something that can motivate people to go out and support your campaign and make sure that they get their vote cast is polling where you're slightly behind, right? Oh, we're so close, but we're slightly behind, which is what this polling is. Biden might beat us. That could be a fear tactic to help him, but instead he has to have this narrative that he's crushing Biden in all the polls, and that will play into his eventual, if he loses, election lies. Now, the question's why? Why are we seeing this shift in the polling? Well, I like to think, of course, you have the convicted felon impact, but this trend has been over the last few months, at least with this Fox News line, as you saw. I like to think it's because of people now tuning in and understanding stuff like this.
And the Biden administration has been more successfully economically interventionist than the New Deal.
Close, once again, to the Fed's 2% inflation target.
These markets that just are running at an incredible pace.
Climate investments, healthcare reforms, corporate tax reforms.
Insulin price caps, prescription drug reform, and Affordable Care Act subsidies.
Groundbreaking chips and science law that's going to ensure that technologies and jobs of the future are made here in America.
More than 1 million veterans and survivors are currently receiving PACT Act benefits.
In America, we leave no veteran behind. From the American Rescue Plan that helped create nearly 10 million new jobs.
And giving people in this nation, working people, middle-class folks, people who built the country, a fighting chance.
To rebuild America's roads, bridges, ports, deliver clean water, high-speed internet.
15 million jobs.
That's the strongest two-year growth in history. And all this progress is part of our vision and plan and determined effort to get the job done for the American people.
Got it.
Yeah, so again, like we talked about with the economic metrics, the legislative successes are things that take a second to be felt in the lives of Americans. And that's totally okay, and that makes sense. And my hope is that the Fox newsification of reality, with much of the narratives that they push, that will not prevail over reality, actual, factual reality. Because if people do tune in and they do focus on not the rhetoric, not the aesthetics, not the surface level stuff, but the stuff that matters in your life, the policies that are sometimes a matter of life and death for you, and a matter of your children's future, and the infrastructure in your communities, etc. If people focus on that more objectively, then this election's so easy in terms of the decision people should make. I did see, by the way, on a lighthearted note, I guess this was in the New Yorker, to put them in perspective, I think of being on an airplane, this author writes. The flight attendant comes down the aisle with her food cart and eventually parks it beside my seat. Can I interest you in the chicken, she asks, or would you prefer the platter of, for the kids out there, we'll say, of poop with bits of broken glass in it? To be undecided in this election is to pause for a moment and then ask how the chicken is cooked. Oh, classic. Which absolutely seems applicable. And my hope is that that will be how people feel the more they realize the threat Trump poses to democracy and the solid record of President Joe Biden with the flaws. Here's some CNN reporting as well.
Well, elections are about choices. It's about a contrast. And on the one hand, we see Trump, committed dozens of crimes in order to prevent voters from finding out the truth when he was running in 2016. He tried to throw out 100,000 Milwaukee votes and many others to try to overturn the election in 2020 in a criminal conspiracy. And now he wants to get into the White House to go after the people who he thinks wronged him. It's a revenge campaign. And on the other hand, President Biden, who is delivering and talking about his economic record and his continued work to bring costs down and bring that economic boom in ways that resonate for everyone. I think the more people find out about Trump, the better it is for Biden. The more people find out about what Biden has done and plans to do, the better it is for Biden. And making that choice come into focus is the key. The big challenge, if you dig into these polls, it's people who were able to tune out of politics because President Biden's not someone who makes you wake up in the middle of the night sweating in fear about what he might have done to, side with North Korea and allow them to get nuclear weapons. President Biden is actually a steady hand on the tiller. So a lot of people have stopped paying as much attention to the news. And the people paying the least attention to news are the people who aren't sure how they're going to vote. Those who are paying attention are siding with Biden.
Yeah, unless they're paying attention to outlets like Fox News. Obviously, we're centering this discussion around a Fox News poll, and their polling is fine. But sorry to finish that point, but most of what they're pushing is obviously pro-MAGA propaganda. But it is interesting that Trump can see so much pro-Trump propaganda on Fox News and then throw all of Fox News in the trash, according to his recent Truth Social post, just because of a poll. But he doesn't understand polls aren't supposed to be your opinion. Obviously, Fox News individuals are constantly saying stuff that is good about Trump, but polls are supposed to be done in a way that aren't impacted by your own political views. And Fox News does seem to be fine at doing that, shockingly enough. But again, it's so important that I add the caveat. While we should feel excited, motivated to continue this trend, this isn't supposed to be, all right, well, we're good to go, right? Still within the margin of error. So much work has to be done. It's just emphasizing the point that I've been making, which there's so much hope. I'm super optimistic. And we're going to win, not because we take a win for granted or assume that's going to happen, but because we know what's on the line, so we work our ever-loving rear ends off to actually manifest the optimism that I feel. Let me know what you thought of all that in the comments. If you want to get the extra episode of the show daily, you can do so by clicking that join button below.